Welcome to Naked Spirituality, a video blog series of sacred attention therapy and the Center for Human Awakening. My name is Rob Meager. For more information about sacred attention therapy, the Center for Human Awakening, and our video blog series, please visit our website at www.centerforhumanawakening.com. And center is spelled C-E-N-T-E-R. These video blogs support one of the center's core activities, which is collaboration and partnership with individuals, communities, and healing centers practicing personal growth and spiritual development. Our guest today is Lorraine Keeling, and we will be talking with Lorraine about her healing work. And now I will bring Lorraine on screen. I will welcome you to the video blog series. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for offering.
Now, Lorraine, if someone goes to your website, and based on what I've read, the primary focus looks like it is your work with hypnotherapy.
It is, yes. I've been a hypnotherapist now for about 7.5 years now. So
For those who may not be familiar with hypnotherapy, with that healing modality, can you give us an overview of what is hypnotherapy?
Hypnotherapy is really getting to the root of the cause. It's a very relaxed state that we're going to many times a day anyway. It's a deep and relaxing trance, and we reach a trance doing all types of things where you're engrossed reading a book or even watching a film. You can be in a light trance. When you drive from A to B, you haven't really thought about how you've got there. You're in a very light trance, and whenever you're on autopilot. But using hypnotherapy, it's very similar to meditation, and the brain waves reach a different state whereby you can access all your memories even from before you were born. You can, everything since the day you were born, you've remembered everything, and it's there somewhere in the subconscious mind, which is huge compared to your conscious mind. And it really helps to tap in and sometimes uncover things that you've forgotten in order to release a phobia or whatever's troubling you. For example, it may have been when you were a little toddler or a child and a cat jumped on your head, and now you have a fear of cats and you don't really remember why. As soon as you experience the root of the cause, you can then release it. And it's the same with all kinds of phobias or anxieties. When you find the root cause, it helps you to release, and then you can move on.
Now, you've already talked about healing or working with phobias in hypnotherapy, but are there other sorts of conditions or dis-eases that hypnotherapy can treat?
There can be all kinds of illnesses. For example, you might have a neck ache or something, constant pain, and there's no real cause for it. And it could be that you're holding stress or tension, or that, you've heard the phrase pain in the neck. That is literally a pain in the neck. It could be an issue or even a person that's stressing you out. You're holding that blocked energy trapped. And then when you're aware of it, you can release it. And you can even see sometimes in a trance like a different colour or a shape. Imagine it leaving the body. You can use a lot of metaphors with hypnotherapy, particularly for things that you don't really need to understand the reason of it. You can imagine a colour or a shape just leaving the body, and you're getting rid of the issue without digging too deep if it's disturbing for you, for example.
Mm-hmm. What does a person experience in a hypnotherapy session? What might they expect?
Well, I'm a creative hypnotherapy, which is very different from the clinical hypnotherapy. That means it's very tailor-made. So a lot of hypnotherapists use a script as a base, but when you've trained in creative hypnotherapy, every session is bespoke. So you learn to use your intuition, and you very much go with the flow. You use the client's own words. So if they've said something in the initial consultation, you pick up on that, and then you use that in their own words later when they're in the trance. And by using their own words, they can relate to it much easier, and it helps them to just release and let go.
Mm.
And it's more about self-awareness as well. And particularly with more spiritual people, you can talk on a higher self level, as though my higher self is talking to the higher self of the client. And really, many times I'm in a light trance myself, and it's the other person, the client's higher self, that's instructing me in a way, and I just flow and say whatever pops into my head at times. So it took a while to get used to doing that. Initially, when you start off, you kind of use a script and you think about what you're doing, but then you have to trust and just go with the flow.
Lorraine, you've used the word trance, and used it in describing a state that the person you may be working with is in. You also talked about possibly being in a trance yourself. How does that come about? How does the individual, the client coming to work with you, get into that trance state? How do you get into that trance state? And is there anything a client needs to do to prepare themselves for a hypnotherapy session?
Well, if they want to practice beforehand, they can prepare by relaxing the body, listening to music, and just closing their eyes, going within themselves and noticing the breathing. That's a very popular way, but depending on the client, I use different methods. One of the most popular one is progressive relaxation, whereby you close your eyes, you focus on different parts of the body, imagine the face muscles relaxing, the flow of relaxation working its way, goes down your shoulders, relaxing the spine, sinking into the chair, and even just thinking about the body relaxing can take you into a light trance. Then you can use different techniques whereby you're walking through nature, going down a path. Popular technique is down different stairways, going down corridors, and then the more and more you tap into your own creative imagination, the deeper you go into more of a dreamlike state where you're somewhere between awake and asleep, but your mind is very alert. The body can sometimes feel as though the body's just fallen asleep completely, but your mind's there, clear as anything.
You've been working in this area. You've been working with hypnotherapy for about a decade now, correct?
Yeah, just under, yes.
Okay. Have you noticed any changes in that field, if we can call it that, in that technique, how it's practiced, the use of hypnotherapy as a healing modality in general, or even the general public's acceptance of hypnotherapy?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. I mean, there was the old-fashioned idea of the swinging watch, which is, from the 1940s, and whereas now, particularly for the past life regression, people are a lot more open than they were, say, 10 years ago, and it's growing in popularity, really. Whereas people do work on themselves, self-development, and they become aware of reincarnation and that there are things in your previous life that may be causing a problem in this life. And simply by experiencing it, watching it, becoming aware of it, you can release and let go. And I think there's a lot more people that were skeptical, but they're thinking, I'll give it a try. Maybe somebody they know has had success. Quite a few of my clients have come along and said, my friend has recommended you. I know it worked for them. So already they're halfway there. They're expecting it to work, which is half the job done, really, because everyone knows that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. You can't make somebody do what they don't want to. So say, for example, you want to give up smoking and you want to give up for you, then, you've got a very good chance of success. If somebody's nagging you and saying, I want you to stop smoking, otherwise I'll leave you or whatever, and they're forcing you to go and you don't want to, then it's not going to work. You have to want to make the change yourself. And ultimately, it's all about positive change.
What inspired you to get into this work, Lorraine?
An awful job. I was having a meeting with years and years ago with a couple of the bosses, and they said, where are you going? We want you to do all these exams, and they were pushing me, and I wasn't really particularly interested. And in the end of that meeting, I just quit my job on the spot, which is very unlike me. And we agreed a 3-month notice period. And in that time, I thought, I need to do something that I really want to do. Even though I'm only doing it part-time, it's really changed me a lot. And I started browsing a few different courses and job websites, and it stood out, and I just felt this is for me. And when I went on the open day, there was an afternoon open day just to meet the teachers. I liked the style of it. It was 2 teachers, Ray Jenkinson and Dr. Lloyd. And it was a small group. There was only 8 students and the 2 teachers, so it was very good, intense training. A lot of one-to-one training, which is very different to these online courses, which I don't really think is good for you as a person, because you need to experience it rather than just learn about it. So on the training course, you're switching back and forth between being the client and being the students. So by the time you reach the end of the course, you're running out of things to deal with. You're thinking, I've got rid of the moth phobia, I've got rid of the spider phobia. There's nothing left. So even in terms of self-development, it's worth training in. So I enjoyed that a lot.
You also work with people regarding health and nutrition, correct?
Yes, I did some nutrition training, mostly to help with the weight loss clients for hypnotherapy, and just to encourage them and to give me more ideas of when they focus on how they've changed after they've lost the weight, how they actually enjoy the healthy food. And it's listening to your body, really. What does your body really want? And everyone has their little treats, you know, the glass of wine or the chocolate cake, you know, everything in moderation. It's getting the balance right so that you know that you can have your occasional treat, but do what is really right for you. And in terms with weight loss clients, it's quite often comfort eating, so there's an issue underneath, whether it's anxiety or loneliness, and it's dealing with the underlying issue, and the weight gain is more of a symptom, really.
Do you find sometimes that the 2 approaches or the 2 avenues of healing work, so the work on health and nutrition, can come together with the hypnotherapy?
Yes, I like to include all those positive suggestions, particularly, you know, there's one technique where you can imagine 2 different tables full of food, and one's full of junk food and one is full of all the healthy and nutritious food that the body needs. And you can really make the junk food seem even more unappealing. You can imagine, you know, worms, flies, things crawling over the junk food to really kind of put you off it, and it will help you kind of feel disgusted by it in a way. So I know that it's worked very well, and particularly when I ask the client what is the worst thing that they can put in their mouth, and they'll suggest something. I say, whenever you are putting something harmful in your body that's excessive, you'll get this sensation. And somebody once said, you know, a wasp, you know. So every time they were trying to put something awful in the mouth, junk food, they had the sensation of being stung. So it certainly helped put them off.
It certainly reveals the power of the mind, doesn't it?
It does, yes. Yeah.
Lorraine, in about 6 weeks, you are hosting an event in Marston called The Enlightened Moment. And would you like to share a little bit about that upcoming event?
Well, I got the email inviting people to become hosts, and I thought I'd like to find out more about this personally as well. And also, I know meditation is very beneficial for health, and there's growing interest in the area. I've held a few different events at that same little village hall, which holds around 40 people, so people can just turn up on the day if they want to. They can email me just to check there are enough spaces. So I'm sure we'll have at least 20 people on the day, possibly more, aiming for 40 though, obviously. But I think when you meditate in a group rather than on your own, there's a different kind of energy, and the energy builds up. And this has been proven, I think, many times with the different Buddhist monks, for example. They've meditated in a certain city and the crime rate has gone down. So it can be very powerful, and a lot of people do say that, you know, you create your own reality, and when lots of positive vibes come together, it only strengthens. and the fact that more and more people are deciding to try meditation, even if it's only 5-10 minutes a day. It's improving, and people are recognizing that there needs to be a change in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
how long have you known?
Pardon me?
How long have you known and worked with Richard?
Richard and I met back in 2010, and our collaborative journey has been unfolding since 2011, which has culminated in its current most ambitious form, and that is the Center for Human Awakening. So as part of some of the Center for Human Awakening's programming, Richard has embarked on this tour of Europe, the United Kingdom, as well as North America, putting on these series of events called the Enlightened Moment. And depending on the city, that Enlightened Moment can be a satsang, which will be happening in Marston on March 7th. It may be a talk, or it may combine a satsang with a talk with some workshops, which would expand over several days. So depending on the city, one may experience a different kind of events. The event in Marston that you're hosting, and Richard will be coming into Marston, it will be a satsang evening, which is certainly incorporates meditation, but it's the opportunity for the individual, the seeker, to sit in truth with the spiritual teacher, to share in the wisdom of the moment, ask questions, receive answers, but sit in that truth. So we're most grateful, Lorraine, that you are hosting that event in Marston, and Richard looks forward to being with you and others in Marston on March 7th.
Yeah, well, it's nice to be part of the world tour.
Indeed. Just this past weekend, the tour began in Budapest, Hungary, and it was a beautiful weekend shared by all those that participated in that event in Hungary. He'll be off to just a short pass through the United Kingdom next week, Exmouth, which I'm told is rather close to Exeter, for events next week, and then over to Ireland, Limerick, for February, and then back to the United Kingdom for 5 stops right now that are planned throughout the month of March. And Marston is March 7th.
It is, yes.
Good.
And would you say it's good for complete beginners in terms of people on the spiritual path?
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah. Lorraine, if people wanted to reach out to you, either regarding your hypnotherapy work or your work with people on health and nutrition, or if they wanted to touch base with you and RSVP for the Enlightened Moment event happening on March 7th in Marston, how could they reach out to you, Lorraine?
Well, my email address is lorrainekeeling@therapist.net, or they can contact me via my website, which is lkhypnotherapy.wordpress.com.
Wonderful.
Sorry?
We'll make sure that the email address and the website address are in the scrolling credits at the end.
Okay, that's great.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lorraine, for being with us. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.